there, welcome to Sunday Yin. My name is Emily and today we are going to get started right here on the mat. Make sure you are comfy. We're going to begin lying down. So you might want to have a bolster underneath your knees. Otherwise, lying down any way that feels good. So we'll begin by just readjusting ourselves on the floor. You may even want a blanket if you're feeling super extra mega cozy. You can have your hands out by the sides, or you may even want to begin with hands on your belly, or one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Just beginning to take some really deep, deliberate breaths in and out. And just officially arriving. Allowing yourself to feel nice and heavy, nice and soft. Totally supported by your mat, by your practice. Maybe even thanking yourself for carving out the time in your day to spend just a little while with yourself. Perhaps noticing exactly how you're feeling today. What physical sensations can you notice? What's popping up in your head? No, I don't like to get too caught up on these things, but it can be really nice to notice kind of where you're coming from, what you're working with, and adjust your practice accordingly. So if you're feeling a little vulnerable today, or a little sad, a little down, be giving yourself a little extra time, a little extra care. And if you're coming into this practice feeling mega outgoing, super happy, maybe this is a fun time to challenge yourself. But especially in Yin, especially when we're doing restorative style practices, I never like to push against the grain or go against the grain too much. As you lie here, in a breath flowing easily, just beginning to notice the sounds within the room. My voice or your breath, perhaps the music you've got on, the sound of your air conditioner. And then starting to kind of send your sense outwards, starting to notice sounds outside the room. Being aware of cars on the street, birds outside. Sending your awareness, your attention all the way out to the horizon. Picking up on all the tiniest, all the gentlest sounds. Not getting caught up on any, just noticing one, moving on to the next. And then bringing your attention, your awareness back into your body, back to you, back to your space. Fully here, fully present as much as you can be. This is a really great time to set an intention for this practice. Now that you've kind of figured out how you feel, finding something that's relevant to you and setting that intention, repeating it to yourself 3 times over. Loud and clear inside your head. Using words like I can, I do, I am. like you're moving in slow motion. Just beginning to wiggle toes, wiggle fingers. Gently starting to step your feet in. Just gently, kind of half opening the eyes here. You can keep that bolster under the knees if it's there. I'm going to grab onto my strap or my strap-like object. And I'm going to step one foot either onto the floor quite close to me or even up onto the bolster and extend one leg right into the air. Now I'm going to take my strap or my strappish thing and loop it around the ball of my foot. Now I've got a little bend in my knee here. Remember, we're moving nice and slowly, nice and mindfully, and I'm just going to put a little bit of gentle pressure. You'll notice it's not even a lot. I'm just kind of guiding my foot back towards me here. Looking for a gentle feeling of lengthening kind of in the back of that thigh there. And then once you've found that perfect place between challenging yourself and treating yourself kindly, we find that place and then we practice stillness. Gently holding onto that strap, keeping the foot as it is, knowing that we don't really need to push our limits. We want to be in a place where, yes, maybe we're a little challenged, but we can also keep the breath nice and long, nice and smooth. We can actively relax. Really allowing of our body to just be soft, be still, be heavy in this shape. I find it's after the first maybe 30 seconds or so of being still that I start to almost get a little stressed, a little fidgety, like, oh, I want to move, I want to run, I want to go do something. And if that's you, hun, this practice is for you. Practicing stillness is such a powerful thing. And practicing feeling comfortable in an uncomfortable place is also such a powerful thing. And nice and slowly, I'm going to start to bend that knee in towards the chest. I'm going to take my strap away. I'm going to pop it over my head where I can find it. I'm going to bend that knee. I'm going to take that left ankle, pop it over my right knee. Now from here, we've got quite a few stages. This is like a modified pigeon or a modified sleeping swan, a figure 4. So my first step here is I can take my left hand, pop it on the inside of my left knee, and I can gently kind of push that knee away. If that feels like not quite enough, we can take the left hand, and as we do a little sit-up, take it through the gap in your legs. Take my right hand, I'm going to take it all the way around the leg. I can take it on top of the knee or on the bottom of the knee. From there, I'm going to start to lie myself back. And a nice thing to do here, if your head doesn't comfortably reach the floor, grab yourself a block, a pillow, a rolled up blanket, and pop it under your head. You can relax here, this beautiful outer hip stretch. Again, kind of finding that place where you feel challenged. Sometimes I find I come into like the pose and I spend 30 seconds and I go, you know what? That's not for me today. Know that you can always let it go. You can always dial it back a little. And these really slow, calculated practices are a really great opportunity to kind of watch and observe how you react to things and kind of where your mind goes, what you do when you're trying to avoid something. And for me, maybe you can relate, but the second I start to feel a little bit like a little challenged or uncomfortable in a pose or a shape, I generally want to fidget. I generally want to get up and vacate the premises immediately. And provided you feel safe, provided you are feeling like what you're doing is beneficial, this can be a really nice way to challenge that inner fidget. And just a gentle reminder to keep your breath long and smooth. And then when you're ready, gently releasing. You can give that knee a little hug, a little move around. And then we're going to place that foot down on the ground, or maybe on your bolster if you're using your bolster. We're going to find our strap again. Do the same thing on the other side. Picking up the right foot, wrapping your strap around the ball of your foot. And remembering we don't have to fully hyperextend or really extend that knee out. We can keep a soft bend as you gently draw the foot back toward you. Looking for a feeling of lengthening in the back of that thigh. And then softening in, finding that spot, that perfect kind of balance between kind of effort and ease, and then holding on there. Keeping the breath smooth and long. And just a few more breaths, finding some length in the back of the leg here. This is a beautiful one to have the feet up in the air, especially at the end of a long day. And then when you're ready, nice and slow. We're not in a rush to get anywhere. We're in Sunday mode. Take that strap away. We're going to bend into that knee. Gently guide the ankle over the knee so you can kind of gently flex that foot. Keep it active, keep it strong. And then pick your option here. Maybe we're pushing that knee away. Maybe we're reaching up and through and grabbing on. When you do grab on, take your head down to the floor. If your head doesn't make it to the floor, relax it back on something. And then settling in here. And so this Sunday yin. I mean, first of all, Sunday is generally the day that we want to be relaxing, you know. We want to be kind of replenishing our energy stores for the rest of our working week. But I used to teach a class on a Sunday evening when I first started teaching, like 4 or 5 years ago. And I've had a request to bring that back. Gentle reminder to keep the breath long and smooth. Savoring your last few breaths in this shape. And then remembering we're in no rush to get anywhere, let's unclasp the hands, let the legs go. And then just stepping both feet onto the floor and just a gentle little rock from side to side with the knees. A little windshield wiper. If you've got something under your head, popping it to the side. And then I'm just going to scoot my bolster out the way. Ooh, took my mat with it. I'm going to lay out nice and long on my mat. I'm going to make one big long line from my feet all the way up to my hands, reaching the hands over the head. So we're going to come into Bananasana, or a banana pose. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lift my hips up and take them over to the right-hand side of my mat. So my hips are touching the right-hand side of my mat. Then from there, I'm going to walk my feet over to the left-hand side of my mat. I'm going to do the same thing with my hands and my arms, pick them up, take them over to the left. So I'm making like a big banana shape with my body, or like a C shape with my body. What we're looking for here is a feeling of lengthening on the kind of the long curved side of the body. So you can grab onto your wrist, you can stack the ankles if that feels good. Thinking about kind of both hips, so both butt cheeks are on the floor here, and both shoulders are on the floor here. It can be a little tempting to roll onto your side body, but we keep the whole back body on the floor. We think about lengthening through one side. Every inhale is an opportunity to make a little space between the ribs. Lengthen the side body here. Keeping the breath long and smooth. Inhaling deep. And exhaling slow. Allowing the parts of your body that do make contact with the floor to kind of melt into the floor, feel nice and heavy on the floor. Savoring your last couple of breaths here before we change sides. And then moving like you're moving in slow motion. Let's uncross the ankles, ungrip the wrist, and just wiggle your way back into the middle here. Now take a moment in your straight line, just to chill, relax. Notice how one side of the body feels compared to the other. Kind of observing sensation as it moves and changes and dissipates. And then let's change sides. So I'm going to pick up my hips and pop them over on the left-hand side of my mat. I'm going to wiggle my upper body, wiggle my legs over to the right-hand side of my mat. You can stack your left ankle on top of the right one. Grab onto your whatever wrist really feels good. And then softening into this shape. Remembering both shoulders, both butt cheeks on the floor here. And placing your head wherever it feels good. Settling in with some really big, deep, deliberate breaths. Remembering your intention, remembering why you're here, especially if you've got that urge to stop or that urge to leave. Just reminding yourself that this is some deliberate self-care time that you've carved out. Sometimes it can be tempting to cut into your own you time to go do productive things. But it is really important that we have that time to just do things fast. It could be yoga, it could be making art, it could be spending time in nature, it could just be sitting down, staring at the wall. But it doesn't have to be kind of deemed productive. Being unproductive can be really good for us. Savoring your last few breaths in this shape, really breathing into that nice long side body here. And then nice and slowly ungripping your wrist, unstacking your feet, wiggling your way back through the center. Ooh. We can step the knees up and in, draw the knees to the chest, give them a little hug, take a little wiggle. And then setting the feet down on the floor, we're going to roll our way onto our belly, nice and slowly. Beautiful work. Now from here, you can have your feet a little wide apart if that feels better for your back. What we're going to do is lifting the upper body up. So roll the shoulders back. We're going to lift the chest just enough that you can slide your elbows underneath your shoulders here. So we can spread the fingers nice and wide on the floor, kind of have the forearms on the floor. Thinking about gently kind of pressing your hands into your mat and kind of pulling them back towards you. So, and this comes to all of your back bending postures like your upward facing dog or your cobra, but it's more of a like pulling forward and opening of the heart than it is a pushing upwards and finding a deeper back bend. You'll find that if you kind of pull forward on the mat, pull your shoulders backward and really pull your heart forward, like you've got a torch on the middle of your chest and you're trying to shine it kind of forward and up, you'll get a little bit more of a back bend in the upper back as compared to the lower back, which in most of us bends pretty easy. Now here, if you find you feel a little bit crunchy through the lower back, if this shape doesn't feel good for you, what we can do is start to walk the hands away from you. And you'll see as I do that, that kind of takes a little bit of the height out of this back bend. We can also really step it back by stacking stacking the forearms, and we can rest the head right down. So we've just got a little bit of an opening through the chest. Just picking that option that works well for you, feels good for your back. Whatever option you take, feeling like you're drawing that heart forward. Thinking about the back of the neck being nice and long, so rather than looking up, we think about kind of keeping the back of the neck as an extension of the spine. So it's almost like you're staring to the top of your mat. It's a beautiful, open-hearted posture. Taking some big, deliberate breaths in and out. One last big inhale. And as you exhale, let's press into the palms, let the elbows slide out to the side, come all the way down onto your belly. You can stack the hands, rest the head to one side. Take a moment. And then as always, in Sunday mode, moving nice and slow. Let's press the hands to the floor. Press the floor away from you so you can come up onto the hands and knees. And I'm going to grab onto my bolster. I'm going to bring it right in front of me, facing long ways, this very bright bolster. I'm going to take my big toes together, take my knees nice and wide apart, and I'm going to pull that bolster in super, super, super close. Now, if you find that this bolster feels a little bit too low for you, you can stack it up with pillows, blankets, anything to make it a little bit higher so it's more accessible to you. And when you're ready, we take a really big inhale, we lift and lengthen. And then as we exhale, we're going to walk the hands either side of the bolster nice and far away from you until you feel like your upper body is resting on that bolster. Turn the head to one side and chill. You can grab onto the end of the bolster here. If you're feeling super comfy in this shape, you can tune out, catch up with your breath, find some stillness. If you want to modify, I'm going to give a couple options here. So again, if you feel like that bolster is just too low, you can fold towels, you can fold blankets, you can fold kind of anything to bring it in a little closer, even taking a block underneath the bolster to bring it up a little bit higher is a nice thing to do. Another option, if you're finding that as you come forward that the hips come up and they're kind of hanging out in space there, a nice thing to do is take a folded or a rolled up towel or blanket and pop it right at the kind of creases of the knees, and then sitting back into that so that your hips can still float off the bottoms of your feet, but you can sit back into something. You can really let your weight relax. So I would fold that blanket just a little bit more. And really sit back. You see I've got that space there that feels good, and I can come forward. So picking that version of our child's pose that feels really good for you. Kind of wanting to feel supported by your bolster here. A really nice thing to do is to think about the back body here. So thinking about, with every breath in, your ribs, your whole back body expands into the space around you. And every breath out, you soften, become a little heavier on that bolster. And then if you've got your head turned to one side, just pick it up and turn it the other way. Turn the other cheek. Keeping our neck nice and even. If you don't feel that great with having your neck rotated, you can take your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. Just making sure that your mouth and your nose are free to breathe. Priorities, right? And breathing into that space around you. Savoring your last few breaths in this shape. And taking your time, only when you're feeling ready. We're going to gently lift the head, place the hands to the floor and start to walk them back towards you, gently coming out of this shape. Now you just want to sit yourself up enough that you can pop that bolster off to the side. And then I'm just going to bring the knees together. I'm going to take my butt over in one direction and my feet over in the other direction so I can come onto one hip and swing the legs out in front. Now from there, I'm going to pick up my right knee, bend it in nice and close, and then I'm going to soften it out to the side. Now, if your knee is kind of floating up again around in space, we really want to feel supported. We want to feel grounded in this practice. So give yourself that. We can take a block or a blanket. I generally like to use blankets or squishy things in this practice. Just keeping with that kind of Sunday nice and comfy vibe. And we support under. So yep, my knee can stay exactly as it is, but I've got that feedback. I've got that kind of, I can soften down into that block. I'm going to turn my sternum over my extended leg. It can be a little bent. And then I'm going to start to walk my hands down the leg as I fold forward. Now some options here. If it feels good for you, you can let the head hang nice and heavy. I'm personally not a fan. I like to keep kind of my upper back a little active. So you can take the bolster across your leg, rest your arms on your bolster as you fold forward, and then find that as you start to build a little space, as you start to feel comfortable to come forward more, you just take the bolster forward more. You can also gently rest the head in the hands. Coming to a place where you are okay to be still, and then be still. Practicing stillness, practicing peace. It's such a beautiful thing to do, to create like a deliberate practice on like how to be chill. So you might find that holding yourself in a still position is a little stressful. This is a really safe place to explore that stress. Why does it make you feel stressed? And is this a stress that you can practice some really deep breaths, practice telling yourself that you're okay or you're safe? Or is this a stress that you need to simply move out of? Can you adjust in a way that is more beneficial? Savoring your last few breaths here. And then working in slow motion. We're going to take that bolster off to the side, move any props. You can give yourself a little hand here. Bring one leg up, extend it out. Same thing on the other side. We're going to take that left leg up, rock it out to the side. I've got the sole of the foot on the inside of the leg here. Support underneath that knee if you want to, underneath the thigh. Grab your bolster. Sit up nice and tall. Lift and lengthen. And then we fold forward. Now remember, we're working a little bit cold here. So we're not kind of building heat in the body in the way that we would with like a vinyasa class. So even though maybe after a warm-up you can grab your foot in this shape, just always starting with the very kind of bare minimum. Know that we spend a little time in this shape, and that as you feel good, you can start to come forward more. It's a nice thing to start slow. Smooth, conscious breath. A gentle reminder to soften your face, relax your jaw. Notice if there's anything else in your body that you're holding on to that you don't need to be holding on to. You might be squeezing your glutes, you might be holding your calves tense. Something that is super common is keeping your belly like sucked in. Let it relax. Let it be soft. It feels really good. Obviously, there's times in our yoga practice where we deliberately activate things and that helps us stay strong and stable. But if we're trying to consciously relax, it can be a really powerful thing just to let that thing go. They say too much of anything is poison. Even too much of a good thing. Savoring your last few breaths in this shape. And gently, you're going to start to place the hands on your leg, on the floor, on your bolster, walk them back towards you, make your way up. I'm going to pop that bolster off to the side, pick up my leg, move the block, and we're going to make our way into a supported Matsyasana, or a supported fish pose. So, it's a little bit of DIY work for this one, but I promise you it's worth it. I'm going to grab my blanket, and I'm going to roll it up into a nice little blanket burrito, kind of like those snakes that you put at doors to stop a draft. Now, the thicker I roll out my blanket, the more intense that's going to be on my back. So I'm not going to make it too intense. I'm going to unroll it a little bit. Then I'm going to take my bolster and pop it underneath my knees. And I'm just going to have a block handy. I might want it, I might not. So with the bolster underneath my knees, I'm going to start to walk my hands back on the floor. I'm going to come down onto my elbows. And I'm going to take that blanket burrito, my little blankie snake, and I'm going to pop it under my thoracic spine. So if you wear a bra, it's generally where your bra strap will sit across your back. You want it kind of around about underneath your shoulder blades. So when I lay over it, it's sticking out underneath my armpits. We don't really want it much higher than that. And then what we want to be able to do is to relax our head back on the floor, and you can have your arms out to the sides. You can rest your arms on your belly. And if you feel like your chin's jutting out, if you feel like the back of your neck feels a little bit squished, we grab our block, we grab our pillow, we grab another folded towel, and we pop it underneath our head. Again, find that place that works for your arms. I really like this cactus arm shape. You might like to grab the elbows over the head. You might like the hands down by the sides. You might like them on your belly. And feeling a little bit of opening through our thoracic spine. Taking some big, beautiful, deliberate, deep breaths. Is that enough describing words for you? This is our last shape before we move into Shavasana. Making that effort to stay soft, to nurture the breath, kind of honor the side of us that likes to be slow, the side of us that relaxes, restores. We live in such a go, 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 do kind of world. And it can feel a little uncomfortable sometimes to deliberately stop and to deliberately chill, to spend some time not achieving, to spend some time kind of filling up our cup. So just a gentle reminder from me that that is valid and that is important, and what you're doing is a beautiful thing. Kind of honoring our feminine side, honoring kind of slowness and creativity and nurturing. It's important to honor that cycle. Savoring your last few breaths in this shape. And to make our way out, I'm going to pull my arms in, step my feet up on my bolster, and I'm just going to roll over to the side, just into the fetal position, enough that I can lift up my body, move my blanket. I'm going to keep my bolster exactly where it is. And then making your way into Shavasana. So for this Shavasana, I'm going to suggest take your blanket, pop it over your feet, your legs, grab a pillow for under your head, super extra mega comfy. Lay yourself down, make yourself comfortable, take the hips, tuck them under, long through the lower back, extend the legs out, hips distance, maybe even a little wider if that feels good. Take the arms out by the sides, turn the palms to face up. And deliberate softening through the face, the forehead, the temples, the cheeks, the lips relax. The whole scalp softens, the back of the head heavy on the floor. All the way down the back of the neck, soft, across the tops of the shoulders, relaxes. The muscles through the upper arms and the forearms relax. Backs of the hands heavy on the floor, palms soft, fingers find their natural curl. All the muscles across the chest soften, feeling the upper back heavy on the floor. Allowing your belly to be soft and relaxed. The lower back free of tension, glutes heavy on the floor. Everything around the pelvis relaxed. Feeling the tops of the thighs, the knees soften. The backs of the thighs, the backs of your calves, the backs of your lower legs, heavy on your bolster, heavy on the floor. The ankles, free of tension. The tops of the feet soften. Each and every one of your toes soften. Even the bottoms of the feet relax. No longer keeping control over the breath, allowing it to breathe itself. Perhaps it becomes shallow. Taking attention to the feeling of your body on the floor, perhaps to the sound of your breath. And just knowing that your thoughts, kind of like the cars on the street outside, you can choose to tune into them, you can choose to follow that sound. Or you can bring your attention back to here, back to you, back to your mat, your breath. And those cars will still drive by, those thoughts will still pop up. You simply make that choice to be 100% here. I love Shavasana. It's such a symbolic posture to honor kind of the death part of that life cycle. And the death part doesn't have to be as ominous and scary as it sounds. It's just honoring that need for downtime. And we see that cycle reflected in nature when we head into winter. Everything kind of goes inside itself and conserves energy. And every now and then, us humans need to do the same. And so when the time comes for our summer to come back, when the time comes for that life cycle to come back, we are fresh and energetic and healthy and ready to go. And so if you are loving your Shavasana, if you want to stay here for a while longer, just pause this video, close your laptop and stay. Otherwise, if you want to follow me, let's begin to gently move fingers, move toes. Start to invite some deeper, more conscious breaths back into the body, breathing in that fresh air, fresh prana, fresh energy. And letting that movement from fingers and toes make its way up into your arms and legs, towards the midline until eventually you're moving the whole body. Maybe you want to take a big stretch, arms up over the head. Maybe you want to draw the knees to the chest. You can keep that blanket wrapped around you if you've got one. As you gently roll off to the side, spend a moment in the fetal position. And keep the face soft, keep the eyes closed. And then only as you're ready, start to press the hands into the floor, walk them back towards you as you make your way to a comfy seat. Sitting up nice and tall, bring the hands in front of the heart. A moment here to call back the intention that you set at the beginning of this practice. And if you didn't get around to an intention or you didn't set one, this is a beautiful time to be grateful for this practice, for this time that you've made for yourself. Honoring your Sunday, your inner Sunday. Keeping the eyes closed here, let's just start to rub the palms of the hands together. Going faster and faster and faster. Start to build a little heat, a little energy between the palms. And when your palms are feeling nice and warm, gently place them over your closed eyes. Take a big breath in. Blink the eyes open as you breathe out. And bring the hands down into the lap. Thank you so much for joining me for this Sunday Yin. Take good care of yourself. Thank you.